The internet. Love it or hate it, there's no doubt that it's become an essential part of our daily lives. We're now dependent on it for our careers and education, and it's easily accessible in multiple forms. Thanks to this, it is now a primary source for all of us to spend most of our time on. But did you know that the web pages you access every day only makes up 1 to 10% of the internet? Now, you may be thinking, duh, there are millions of websites on the internet. I can find them on Google right now. Well, those millions of websites that exist in the wild still apply to that 1 to 10%. What I'm talking about is the other 90 to 99% of the internet known as the deep web, a part of the internet that we can't simply access via search engines. So, what is the deep web? Well, let's look at the internet like an iceberg. We all know that an iceberg is huge, but only a small fraction of it is visible on the surface. This little piece of the iceberg can be represented as the surface web, aka part of the internet that you can easily access on any browser or search engine such as Google and Bing. Who uses Bing? And the rest of the iceberg that exists underwater can be represented as the deep web, which are web pages that said search engines are forbidden to find and can only be accessed with special methods. Thinking that this is the area of the internet you've never accessed before? Well, you're wrong. Without knowing, you might have already visited a part of the deep web. A sizable portion of the deep web consists of web pages that can only be accessed via users logging into a main website, such as your bank account, your Dropbox, or your Google dashboard. Database-driven sites are also dependent on the deep web to store copyrighted material from being accessed freely. So hey, did you recently use JSTOR to find the sources you needed to write your essay? Every page you just visited past the login section is the deep web. However, while this can cover the majority of the deep web, it's not all of it. The rest of the deep web can only be accessed with special techniques that can only be achieved with specific anonymous browsers. Browsers such as Tor, aka the Onion Router, or L2P, and their primary search engines such as DuckDuckGo are specially designed to access the anonymous deep web without any third-party company or the NSA tracking your activity. What allows these browsers to access the deep web is the ability to open up deep web URLs known as onion sites or .onion, something that browsers such as Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome aren't allowed to do. Now, is it legal to use these onion tracking browsers? Of course. Tor and other onion tracking browsers have been quite popular to internet enthusiasts since it helps maintain privacy as they do their business on the surface web. Tor is used by journalists, the military, and even the law itself to keep their confidential activities away from the public eye. Tor has even been promoted on various tech websites saying how this should be the future of web browsing, so onion routers have been encouraged if anything. Onion routing in the deep web might sound like a wonderland after everything I just described, but don't get too excited. There are the bad sides of the deep web that may even outweigh the positives. Like I said earlier, onion routing allows people to browse the deep web anonymously out of the NSA's reach, and there are no limits to that whatsoever. Thanks to anonymous browsing, the internet is met with a major problem that will most likely not be stopped anytime soon. The deep web has now become a popular place that can be used for illegal activity that cannot be tracked by the proper authorities, which gives online criminals a huge advantage. The deep web has become a primary place for shady business practices such as internet black markets, illegal pornography, weapon trade, live stream murder, and hitmen for hire. Unfortunately, many underground companies that provide these services have become very successful since the deep web has no way of tracking their existence. .onion sites cannot be indexed anywhere on the internet and can often delist themselves, only being accessible with specific instructions. This allows underground companies and their customers to do their shady business in peace, using Bitcoin as their primary source of currency since money can be transferred without any personal identity required. These horrific activities are such a common thing on the deep web that it has created its own subsection called the dark web. If you ever read a news source informing you of illegal companies such as Silk Road or No Limits Fund being taken down, you know what the dark web has to offer, and it only gets worse. This is a terrible, terrible industry that will not stop anytime soon, and needless to say, you should stay away from it at all costs. But hey, let's lighten the mood for a bit. Despite all the bad examples I gave of the deep web, there are just as many good examples. The deep web has also created various communities whose goals are to hunt and shut down as many dark web companies as they can, and a few have even been successful. And various deep websites are made for people who genuinely want to help people emotionally. One of the most popular examples is the anonymous forum Sanctioned Suicide, which is dedicated to online therapists helping depressed individuals who are too afraid to express their darkest suicidal thoughts to anyone publicly. Sanctioned Suicide has helped countless suicidal people change their perspectives on life and give it another chance, which can't be looked down on. So all in all, the deep web is a 50-50 scenario of both good and bad places, or it can lean more towards good and bad depending on your experience. Regardless of what it is, the deep web is still not recommended to visit unless you completely know what you're doing in order to stay safe. If you enter the deep web without proper protection, it is possible for dark web communities and companies to track down your computer and get a hold of your information, so visiting it might not be the best idea. However, if you still want to see what the deep web has to offer, and I don't blame you, then don't worry. There are plenty of ways to experience the deep web while not having to actually go on deep web. I personally recommend Mutahar aka Some Ordinary Gamer's weekly YouTube series Deep Web Exploration, which showcases Mutahar, a professional in the cybersecurity field, diving into the deep web to show all the ridiculous, funny, good, and bad parts for our entertainment. Mutahar also makes sure to forward any shady websites he finds to the proper authorities, so he's also making his browsing time useful to stop as many dark web companies as he can. And if his deep web series ever inspires you to visit the deep web yourself, he encourages it. Mutahar has provided an in-depth tutorial on how to explore the deep web completely protected and out of everyone's reach. Like I said though, just know what you're doing. The internet will always be a wonderful place regardless of what happens, good or bad, and if anything, the deep web should be seen as interesting, and as another reason to keep yourself safe. Don't let this video scare you about the 90 to 99% of the internet. Keep using the internet for work and entertainment, and always remember to enjoy yourself.